So how did it feel to be in a place where, I guess money was not going to solve your
Yeah.
problem? It wasn't a lack of it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So now that's what autism teaches you.
Yeah.
Because we believe there is no point of us accumulating things and leaving a child who cannot stand for themselves.
Yeah.
So we vowed to constantly invest on our children. Conviction should be what is guiding you. Yeah, that conviction. It will not always be shiny. There are so many dark cloud days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't forget the final picture just
Yeah.
because it's cloudy.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of Financially Incorrect. I am your host, Barack. And remember, Financially Incorrect is proudly sponsored and brought to you by none other than FX Pesa. As usual, if you would like to open a demo account or learn about trading, you can do that at any of the following physical locations. That's Thika, Nakuru, Eldoret, Kampala, or Kitengela. You can visit any of their offices physically and get trained, or you can check out their classes online. All the links are going to be in the description box. And if you'd like to open a live account and actually trade, again, link is going to be in the description box. Last week, we talked to a senior trader, the best prop trader in the world, and we had a really interesting conversation. This week, I'd say this episode is probably, like 6 weeks late. Ideally, we should have done it in April when I was talking about autism and trying to, I guess, spread awareness about autism. But yeah, today that's a conversation that we're going to have. We're going to have a conversation with a pediatrician who also happens to have a son who's on the spectrum. So we're going to understand everything around autism and finances and what that looks like. And hopefully, raise some awareness and also just learn a thing or two about what, I guess, that life is like. I would have loved to have my brother on here as a person I was interviewing, but I don't know if he would have agreed. I actually didn't ask him. Maybe I should have. But yeah, anyway. So on set today, we have Dr. Neema Lema. Welcome to Financially Incorrect.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day. It started off chilly.
Yeah.
But the weather is settling in well.
Yeah, it was very foggy today actually.
Yeah,
At
it
like
was,
at
it
like
was.
I was dropping off my daughters in school at like 7:30. It was still very, very foggy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was a strange day today.
Yeah, but the sun is out finally.
Is it?
Yeah,
Like
but we can see the sky.
I feel like it's more daytime than the sun being out, but it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you? What's the word? I've seen your channel up, and I've seen you talk about a few things around autism and talking about awareness, talking about the moment that you learned about the diagnosis and what that process was like for you. Maybe before we get into the conversation around autism, you can tell us a bit more about yourself, a bit more about your practice, I guess, as a doctor, and what that journey was like for you.
All right. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And I really love talking about autism, and it brings so much happiness to my heart when I hear organizations such as FX Pesa actually talking about autism. It really, really does mean a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So as you said, my name is Neema Lema, and I'm a doctor. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm a mom of 3 children. The eldest is the one who's on the spectrum. He'll be turning 10.
Okay.
I have 2 boys. The first 2 are boys, and then I have a young girl. My young girl will be turning 6 in June. Next month.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that's about me, and I've been a pediatrician for 12 years this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
12
I need
years.
some.
Yes, that's some applause. Yeah,
Yes.
Congratulations. That's a long time.
Yes. So I've been a pediatrician for 12 years, and within these 12 years, you can imagine I've seen a lot of things. So I've been, most of it I've been a clinical pediatrician, like seeing sick children in hospital. Part of it, I was a teacher. During my training as a pediatrician, I was a teacher. And I think I taught for like 3 years because they're the ones who are paying for me my school fees. So they had given me a scholarship.
Okay.
As long as I was going to be training.
Right. Once
Yeah,
you're
the
done.
undergrads.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yeah. Not once as I was studying.
Oh,
So I was
right.
working as I was studying.
Okay.
Yeah. So after that, that's when I moved to Kenya.
Okay.
And then
Oh, sorry. Where was this?
This was in Tanzania.
In Tanzania,
Yes,
okay.
this was in Tanzania. So after I moved to Kenya, then I came straight ahead, went to work. My first employer here in Kenya was Aga Khan. Then after Aga Khan, moved to Nairobi Hospital, in and out, in and out. Most of it has been just seeing patients. And in 2019, I started creating awareness on child health on a Facebook channel. So I did, most of it was general pediatrics, just, talking to parents about the basics really of having a baby, what that means, how can you prevent, what can you prevent, when do you go to hospital.
Right.
Yeah. So I did that for I'll say 3 years. Then I took a break. A lot was also happening in my personal life.
Okay.
Then last year, that's when I made that decision, okay, maybe I should focus on doing what I know best based on my personal experience. And then that's when I started talking about autism. So I started talking about autism last year in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I opened my YouTube channel this year in Feb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A question. Do you know what the word for, and this is also for the audience actually, do you know what the word for autism in Kiswahili is?
Yeah, I do.
Do I, what is it? As I sit here, I'm trying to remember what it was because my brother told me.
Yeah.
6 weeks ago. It starts with an A, right?
No.
Is it not?
You like A for
Victor,
umbrella.
Victor, do you know what it is?
Depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy word.
Yeah.
So if you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't, you
It's
can't guess.
It's ugonjwa wa.
No, there's no gonjwa.
Is it not?
No, it's just one word, like the way autism is.
Okay, then my brother told me.
It's called usonji.
Usonji. Right.
Yeah,
right,
it's called usonji.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to sort of kick off the conversation, because I don't think even during my education, I don't think out of all the possible diseases that I may have learnt about in Kiswahili, and the translation of it, I definitely did not come across.
Yeah, actually, even me, I learned of Osonji after starting to actually really learn about what autism is.
Yeah.
But even me, I only knew autism as autism. So you say even when you're speaking in Swahili, you still use the word.
Do you know
autism.
I'm trying to figure out when possibly that, I don't even know what the proper question is there, but let me get into I guess your journey with dealing with a child who has autism, right? So you said your oldest son is the one who's autistic. He's turning 10 now. When did you learn that he is autistic, and do you feel like the fact that you are a pediatrician and a doctor gave you an advantage to be able to allow for him to get diagnosed a lot sooner than the average kid in Kenya?
Yeah. So yes, you see, as a pediatrician, there are things you know, and then at least you know the normals. Yeah. So when you go to hospital, when things are not going normal, then you know, okay, this is off. Yeah. So when my son was born, he was okay. He was a big boy. He was a very big boy.
How,
like 4 kilos.
4 kilos at birth.
At birth.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a big boy.
That's big.
Yeah.
And
you're born at week 5.
No, I'm just trying to like.
So when it gets to 4,
medically
it's considered to be a big baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything less than 4 to 2.5 is okay.
Like you're in normal range.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the heaviest baby that's ever been born in Kenya?
I heard 7.
7.
From Western.
7 kilos.
I know. Can you imagine?
What is it? Is that just like food? Is just that just like the mother is eating a lot of food and?
I think it's more. I think there's the genetic aspect.
Okay.
And then of course, but most of the big babies is also associated with things like maternal diabetes as well.
Okay.
Yeah, or there are other, but assuming the baby is perfectly well, their babies were just born 7 kilos, and no, it's not just food. I think it's also a genetic component.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, yes. So you were saying.
So born with 4 kilos, breastfeeding was difficult because they eat more.
Because they're
big.
Right.
So, if I may recall, the first 6 months he was really crying. Like I remember, oh my God, it was painful.
Was it like the colic colic kind
No.
of thing?
Okay, you see, because this was my firstborn, I thought it was
was colic.
colic.
Okay.
But looking at hindsight, then I know, no, it's actually no. It was him expressing himself because of the senses, because he processes the senses differently.
Yeah.
But you see, at that time when the baby is 6 months, they can just cry and eat and poop and
Yeah.
So there was a lot of crying. I remember not being able to sleep. I was very close to slip into depression because of fatigue, lack of sleep, because this baby if he's not feeding, he's crying.
It was that.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
It was that bad. So fast forward, we got to 6 months. He never gave me an eye contact. But you kind of give yourself some explanation. When he got to 9 months, when he was, typically a child should be able to start at least saying a word or at least babbling, cooing, and all that. There was nothing of that sort. Then fast forward to 18 months, then he started speaking gibberish words. Yeah. So I knew something was up, but no, autism was not on the list. So I just knew him being a firstborn, surrounded by just adults, no other kids to interact with. Maybe that's why his speech is delayed. But you see, my son never loved TV. Even to date, he's not a fan of TV. So even when you start talking to him, you call his name, he would not even respond to his name. He loved graphics. You see like things like
The whatever's that
on
that's
the
on the
door,
door.
yeah.
Right.
Things that have angles, particular shapes. Remember, our first curtain had all these squares and rectangles and all that.
Right.
If he cries at 2 a.m., you just take him close to that curtain, he'll be quiet. And you're supposed to stand there for like 4 hours.
So he'll just look at he would just look at the
He'll
patterns.
just look at the pattern.
Right.
When we started going to church, we used to worship at All Saints Cathedral.
Okay.
You see the way the cathedral,
Beautiful,
exactly.
Right. Windows and
The whole time he'll just be like this, looking at how all these things are.
yeah.
So if you want him to sit still, just put him in an angle where he's able to look at those structures.
Right.
He'll be a very calm guy.
Like he will not bother
He
you
won't.
at all.
Like he will not even realize it's there.
Okay.
So that's how he has always been.
Okay.
Then I remember we went to a birthday party. So after us knowing that, we made sure even most of his toys had some sort of
And was it like a trance? Was it like something that like he was almost in another world?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Most
Yeah.
of the time. When he's in that space, you'll call him, unless you touch him, even when you touch him and you want to remove him from that place, he's going to fight you.
Okay.
Yeah. So this day we went for a birthday party and everything was fine. And then I remember when we just walked in and everybody was excited. Hey, his name is Yaron.
Yeah.
Yaron. I remember he just turned and took off. And they're like, no, please, you guys mind your own business. I assume he's not here.
Yeah.
So
How
I talked
old was
to
he
him.
at that point?
He was around 2.5, 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Assume he's not here. And so we went in again, but he refused to stay where everybody was. So we went at the backyard of the house. And all this time he was just pacing from one corner to the next, picking sticks, looking around from one corner to the next. Even while we ate, we had to eat from outside, not with everybody. So when the music was turned on, because now it was cake cutting, oh my God, he just flew. I don't know what happened, because I saw him seated at the gate trying to open the gate.
Trying to leave.
Yes, he was, I don't know if you know what eloping means.
No, I know.
Eloping means these kids just take off. Like, you see how a plane takes off?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like, one moment you're here, the next moment he's there.
Yeah.
And he's running full speed.
Yeah.
Now, luckily that gate was closed, so he was not able to go. So he was there now, sitting, crying and yelling, covering his ears. Yeah. I remember going there and I was like, Yaron, what? So for me, that was the first time seeing him in that state.
At this point in time, is he verbal?
No.
No, okay.
No.
But responding to his name.
He's responding to his name, and so he would use gestures.
Okay.
He would use gestures. Like, for example, now he wanted us to leave, he'll just be pointing towards the gate or towards where the car is. Like, we need to go, to go. So I remember trying to hug him. He was just pushing me away. So I just had to be there with him, not talking, just, covering his ears, and then now pointing like, we need to go. I really tried to convince him. He was like, no, I can't. So we had to leave. So like that was it. We had to leave.
The function was over.
Like that.
Yeah.
I felt so much pain. I felt so broken. And I kind of felt like, okay, I think I'm just trying to hide from my reality. Like, most likely something is up.
I mean, sorry. And so at this point, I mean, from 0 to 2.5, have you done or have you gotten anything checked?
No.
Like, and I want to answer from two perspectives. Is it from, because I was raised in both my parents were doctors. So for example, like if you look very closely here, I have a huge, well, it's not big anymore, but a cut here. So when we were kids, my older brother, shout out to Sean, hit me with a hockey stick. And it opened up, my eye right up here. But because my parents were doctors, I was stitched at home. I think the next week he did the same thing to my other brother James. Literally same thing. Hit him again. He was stitched at home. So because we had parents who were doctors, we very rarely went to hospital. So like by the time that you are not either going to school or something's not happening, like both my parents have looked, diagnosed, gotten medication, and they're like, this is not working. Like in fact, I think the only time I went to hospital was for surgery. So I'm asking, was it from that perspective of you felt you're a doctor and therefore you're able to care sufficiently for your child, or was it more from, like you're saying, you just did not want to get him seen?
I think for me it was from a point of fear.
Okay.
It was from a point of fear because I could see something was up.
Okay.
And I knew it has to be neurodevelopmental, but still not autism. Like, okay, I knew it was there, but I was really scared of it being confirmed. So I was really trying to buy time to see if I'm going to see anything different.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was purely from a point of fear and maybe denial. Like I was just not ready to face it. Yeah.
And what were you then telling? Because I would assume that your partner or your family would ask you, especially you being a doctor, would ask you questions to be like, hey, so.
No, I always have answers.
So you would.
Like, for example, so the commonest question is, he's not able to talk yet. You're like, yeah, he's learning. Like,
okay.
Yeah, he's learning. Like, people just don't talk. All of us, we don't talk at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. And then sometimes he'll be hyper. I remember that times he gets so frustrated and he'll hit. Yeah, so people will look at you like, why is your kid hitting an adult?
Right.
You're like, he's just a kid.
Right.
You just need to be patient.
Right.
Like you as a mom, you always keep into a defensive side of your child when anybody asks you anything, because number one is triggering, because you kind of know, that's actually a problem. But no.
Yeah.
I'm just not able to confront it at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just a question on that, because I can see you getting away with that with a third party person, right? Like someone who's maybe interacting with the child every so often, right? But for your partner who, like, you're with on a daily basis, and you're a doctor, I'm assuming he's relying on you.
He's also a doctor.
Oh, he's also a doctor. I see. So the both of you are...
We are like consensus. Like, let's give each other time. Let's give this boy time. We don't need to rush nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both of you are just like...
Yeah, we just wait and see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
And you see, but then I got a second born in that process.
Okay.
So by the time this guy was turning 2, I got his brother. He was born in 2014. The brother was born in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So now when the brother came, that's when I actually realized, oh my God, these kids are just so different. Like, very different. Because this one, like, the growth was very fast. Like, everything was just, like, the way the book says, everything was like that. So when he started talking now, the second born, the elder brother started picking words.
Okay.
Yeah. He said picking words, some behaviors, I picking some behaviors. But then, of course, by this time, of course, I had gotten the diagnosis. So after that birthday, then I was like, okay, I just had to, call for a meeting with me, now with the dad. And we like, okay, no, that was not normal.
Yeah.
That was not normal at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember it was the dad who went with him
for the for the
for
for
the
the for the
diagnosis.
evaluation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry. A question before that, before we get too far, because I wanted to ask this. How much does someone spend typically during a pregnancy? If we were to count hospital visits, and especially a firstborn, because I hear firstborns, people will then take all the multivitamins and everything that's possibly prescribed.
It's
How
true.
much would one spend between the first pregnancy on average, do you think?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, I think I'll just have to think loudly
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
no, no,
don't
no, yeah.
have, I
Like
don't have,
we literally
yeah,
calculate it right
yes,
here.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have, yeah.
yeah.
Because, okay, so like for myself,
Mm-hmm.
before I had him, I had to go do what we call the pre-pregnancy, like the screening. I needed to
Yes,
confirm there
yes.
was actually,
Pregnant.
no, infections and all
Oh,
that.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
you did that screening. The
Yes.
DNA when that tells you what
No,
you.
no. Infections, because I had lost a pregnancy
Oh,
before.
okay. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
it was very important for me to confirm that whatever the cause was will not repeat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because with the postmortem, with the first pregnancy,
The one that you lost,
everything was
unfortunately.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to do that. And I remember that one was, I think it was was it 46 or 50 Gs?
Okay.
That
That you
just,
spent for that.
yes.
All right.
And then now we conceived.
Okay.
Then at 16 weeks, that's when you start the antenatal, the clinics. And then now going to see a doctor at that time, it used to be 4Gs,
Okay.
like every visit. And you see that has to be every month.
Every month. Okay.
And then now I did take pregnant care. I think pregnant care was around what, 1,500 or something. I can't remember, to be sincere, but I know pregnant care.
I know of it. Yeah.
So that's what I used to take, and calcium, because you have to do that, and aspirin. I remember at one point in time I was put on aspirin as well. For refill of that, every time we would have to do a refill, it was more than 5 Gs
Okay.
for the medicine that you have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was for pregnancy. Then because also of the fact I lost the first pregnancy, I needed to do more ultrasounds.
Okay,
So
just
usually
to-
at 20 weeks, normally you will do the first visit. You'll do an ultrasound to confirm actually the pregnancy is there and it's where it's supposed to be. So you do that one, and I think an ultrasound was, I think 6 Gs, because it was what they call, I think they used to call 4D or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was more than 5 Gs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll do
Let me do
that.
my math here.
And then at 20 weeks now you have to do another one to confirm your child doesn't have any abnormalities. So you'll do that one as well at 20 weeks. And then after that now I kept on doing mine now for the brain, because the doctor who like whoever did the postmortem was like, they cannot ascertain if the blood flow to the brain was good.
Okay.
Yeah. So I needed to do these. I think there's a way they usually do blood flow to the brain.
Right.
Yeah. And those ones I used to do so many of them.
Right.
Because I was partly paranoid. Like I was so scared that the same thing was going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah. So I cannot even remember how many I did. I think maybe I did 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, during like the whole
The whole
pregnancy.
pregnancy,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then now, I think, full term. Then you do the last one, the one that will, to just give you an idea, is your baby okay? Is the code, and how are you going to deliver? Yeah. So how many ultrasound? I have no idea how many.
It can, yeah. I mean, it's racking up.
Yeah.
It's racking up. I think it's
Yes.
definitely like at half a mil, 600 probably there.
Yeah. So after that, then of course I remember my gyna prof was like, because of that history, we go for a CS.
Okay.
And I was like, no. I want to try to push.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't like that idea.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I think I can. Because I didn't expect that the baby would be so
Big.
So big. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So everything was fine, and he gave me, so he told me, if by this day you will not have developed any pain, you'll come for admission.
Okay.
So I went in for admission, and yeah, by the time I was getting there, the baby's heart rate was quite high.
Okay.
So Prof was like, oh my God, just rest, don't do anything. So the following morning he came, he ruptured the membranes. I don't know if you know what that means.
I do not know what that means.
Yeah, so you know the baby has a sac.
Yes, of course.
So you poke that sac.
Right.
Yeah. And whatever fluid that came out, it showed that actually my baby had pooped. He had pooped, and it was not a fresh poop. It was an old. So it's something that happened a while. Yeah. It was graded to be grade 2.
Okay.
So usually you have grade 1, 2, and 3. 1 being mild, 3 being the more severe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember Prof was like, you know what, Doctor, we are not going to discuss this. I'm the doctor here.
Yeah.
So he just made the decision. We went in, and yeah, I got the baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's. I guess I'll ask a question off the record. I'll ask a question, or that I don't know if I want to ask that one on the record. But okay. So I guess the pregnancy journey can be quite expensive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I can say my journey wasn't complicated.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider it to be complicated.
Okay.
Some journeys are very complicated.
And can get very expensive.
Very. You see, healthcare in Kenya is not cheap. And I bet we could afford that because we were insured.
Yeah.
Because if every time we went to hospital it was out of pocket, I'm sure we would not have been able to sustain that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry to have taken you sort of back there,
It's
but now to
okay.
come back forward. So your son goes with your partner for their for his evaluation. So he gets evaluated. So what happens after that?
Yeah. So yeah. You know when you kind of know and you don't want to know that feeling. Yeah. So I remember him coming back. He just gave me the report, and I knew. I was like, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he just gave me the report, and yeah, it was there, confirmed, and it was level 1. So from the evaluation, they said it was level 1. You know.
What are the difference?
So we have 3 levels again. Level 1 being what they call mild. Of course, we use the term mild to really speak of. It's wrong to say mild, actually.
Yeah.
Because you either have autism or you don't.
Yeah.
There is no mild, moderate, and severe. So when we talk of level 1, 2, and 3, it simply means how much assistance you need.
Okay.
Yeah. So level 3, they need a lot more assistance. Then the level 2, just a bit, and level 1. So most of the level 1 kids, when they are, they receive interventions and therapies, most of them will be able to live an independent life, quote unquote. Yeah,
Okay.
of course, they won't fit perfect in our societies, but they can really live okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we were to go down to the definition of the word, what does it mean to be autistic? What's the scientific definition and the social definition?
Yeah. So the scientific definition simply means the way the brain develops. Like you see when you're born, there are things that have been pre-installed in your brain. Okay. And these pre-installed things are supposed to develop following some specific pathways.
Okay.
That's why all kids by 6 weeks, they should be looking at you. By 6 months, they should be able to see. Like, no one trains them.
Yeah.
It's just as they grow, those things just, Yeah. Now, for those on the spectrum, those pathways, especially the pathways that you speak of, their social skills, communication skills, and the processing of their senses are different. Yeah. So they will not understand why I need to talk to you and look at you in the eye. They just don't see why. For them, communication, most of them, when a child starts talking, they'll start saying baba, dada, mama, those ones. But for a child on the spectrum, they'll start speaking from phrases. So they will not say baba. Depending now with what has been mostly spoken at home, they'll just say, I say stop. Like that will be the first word. Like you don't know how to call mama. You are not responding to your name, but they can say, I say stop. Because for them, language only, it makes sense based on how it was used, where it was used, and the feelings that came with it. So they start from up there, segmenting to a word. So they start from this phrase and then segment the phrase to remain with one word. So the more advanced their language is, the more independent words they will have. So the most premature words come in phrases, and these phrases are the ones that you find you're talking to a child and they are responding in a way that you don't understand, because for them that phrase is the word. Yeah.
I see what I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the brain basically just develops differently. Okay.
And that's why it's wrong to call it a disorder. It's wrong to call it a disability. It's just being different. It's just being different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, socially, autism, like now I'm speaking from wearing I'm speaking wearing my mommy hat.
Yeah.
Autism came to me, to my life, to challenge the status quo.
Okay.
That's how I look at my son is literally a book I read every single day, because he has challenged me as a person, the way I saw life, the way I understood things, the way you just see 10 people and expect them all to be the same. He has challenged me, the fact that, you see, this bottle, maybe it doesn't even look like the way it looks.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know it looks that way? You understand?
Yeah.
So he has really made me see things differently.
Yeah.
Very differently. He has really made me to ask a lot of questions on the things that were otherwise normal, quote unquote, because there's actually even nothing. Everything is normal based on where you're sitting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this evaluation that you got done, how much did it cost even to get the evaluation done?
I think at that time it was what? It was, I think, 6 or 7 Gs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's both the consultation and the evaluation.
Yeah,
and
so by the
everything.
time we're getting the report. But then now, usually after the report, the next year, you see, because just before schooling, you're supposed to do for your educational assessment. Now, this is where it gets really difficult.
Okay.
Because there are kids who have developed learning challenges, and there are those who don't, and they're all on the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah. So my son also has learning challenges. So
And what are those two differentiations?
So you see, as we said, so autism affects your social skills, your communication skills, and the way you behave.
Yeah.
Then learning affects how you learn. So that means even when you're you see, like the way traditional classes is one teacher.
Right.
Yeah. So my son can't learn that way. My son learns by touching, as you said. He loves the blocks and creating things. My son has a very visual memory. So for him, for learning to make sense to him, it has to be visual. If you just give him instructions verbally, he'll just be looking at you like, oh my God, I have no idea what you're saying.
So he has to be taught in a different way.
Very, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what you mean by learning changes. Because there are some people. So I know my nephew, for example. I know that he's in school. I mean, he has what do you call it? He has a therapist who's with him, and I've forgotten the technical term, but the person who's essentially assisting him to
Shadow
learn.
teacher.
The shadow teacher, yes. But he's learning in a classroom, and I believe he's writing and whatever, like every other kid in his class. So those are the two.
Yeah. So you can either have learning challenges or don't. Those who don't, they're actually very okay. They just sit in a normal class.
So they'll just be like super quiet.
Yes,
or not
and they're
interact with
super
people.
intelligent.
Yeah.
They are not kids who raise their hands, but they are kids who are like, oh, you got 100. Like, we thought you. They are those kids who actually surprise. Or when they ask a question, it's actually it's a question that will irritate the teacher.
Right.
Because it's a very different question.
Yeah.
Like, not a question to be expected from that class.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you say that that's the education element is where the challenges really come in.
Yeah. So now, because normally after that you have supposed for educational assessment. So there is a Kenya Institute of Special Needs Education that is usually meant to assess all children who have special needs and recommend their learning style and so their teaching style, because unless you get that, going to school you may really get frustrated, because you see you're just throwing him in the pool and you're not even sure if he's going to be able to swim.
Right.
So for us now, that time was almost during the COVID time.
Okay.
Yeah. So most of the things were really not moving. Yeah. So we're not able to get assistance from KISA. Yeah. So we had now to look for private. Oh God. So the ranges are from 50 Gs per assessment. But we ended up getting someone who charged us, I think, around 15.
Okay.
Just for that assessment.
Yeah.
To be able to...
And this is for the assessment to be able to determine
Yeah.
how your son will learn best.
Yeah, like to get that report.
Okay.
Yeah. And then now after that, now you look for school. That will be able...
To teach him in that way. Okay.
Now that, I'm still doing that up to date.
So wait, so I want to take you back. So you pay 50 Gs, you get this report that says, oh, so your son learns best visually, and these are the kind of things that are required. So when you get that report, and now you're thinking, like you're saying, thinking about how he's going to learn, how big, I know you've said you're still doing it to date, but how big of a challenge is it, in the sense that, like, for example, right now, I'm trying to think, if I was to put myself in my brother's shoes, and he had a recommendation like that, thinking about, okay, where do you begin?
Exactly.
Who do you talk to
After the report.
Yeah, after the report,
I know.
who did you speak to?
So for me, you see, when you're given that recommendation and then you read, then you kind of know the kind of school your child needs to go.
Okay.
So the first thing is you need to sit as a family and decide
What kind of school was that for you potentially?
It had to be a small school. That
Okay.
was the first thing. It had to be a small school, because we tried going to the like the high end school, quote unquote, but the big school.
Yeah.
So they stayed with him for, some took him for a day, some took him for 2 days, but they were like, no, we cannot offer the level of intensity that he needs.
Okay.
At that time.
And when you're saying a big high end school, you're talking about private institutions.
Of course,
that
it cannot be public.
Yeah.
Because you see, a public school, I think that, I don't know, the smallest public school will have like how many, 20 kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. But a proper public school will have 30, 40 kids
Yeah.
in one class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because my son needed a school that had a maximum of 7 to 10
kids.
Yeah, in a class.
Okay.
So it cannot be a big school.
Yeah.
So it had to be a small school. The learning has to be individualized. Of course, learning always has to be, but for him, it had to be individualized.
Right.
So that means we are not even 7, we are getting into 1 to 2.
Okay.
That teacher ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah. For him to be able to grasp the concepts.
The concepts.
So we went after being told like no to, I think we were being told no to like three or 4 schools. Oh my God. I remember that day I really cried. Like, what am I going to do?
Can you give us the schools? Because it's not defamation. And it's not trying to, I mean, because anyway, it's fine. You don't have to share them if you're not comfortable. But okay.
Yeah, because I remember telling the dad, like, you know what, if it will mean working only for this guy to get school fees, I'm ready to do it.
So it was like whatever the cost was.
I didn't mind.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to the high schools.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they told me no.
And even at that, okay, so you don't want to give us a school, but can you give us a fee range of the high schools
Yeah,
you're talking about?
it was 350.
350 at term. Okay. And they were telling you,
no,
we can't.
Yeah, and this was the early years. Like, these were he was 4, 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember I really cried. So I was like, oh my God, what else? Because they say you start from the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they say no. So I remember going back, but I remember one of the kindergarten teachers from I'll mention, maybe I should mention that from Hillcrest, actually.
Okay.
she was so kind to me. I think she felt like, oh my God, this woman is going to go nuts.
Right.
So she was so kind, and she gave me some contacts of people and told me, try call these ones. I'm sure they'll be able to get you something.
Can I ask you something? How did it feel? Because, like you're saying, it sounds like you were willing to pay
Yeah.
an arm and a leg, and
Yeah.
possibly able to pay an arm and a leg for him to get the education that he can. And I think many times in, I guess, socialization or in the world, we think money will solve a lot of problems, and having money will solve
I
a lot
know.
of problems. And if I just had the money to do this, then I'd do. So how did it feel to be in a place where I guess money was not going to solve your
Yeah.
problem? It wasn't a lack of it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So now that's what autism teaches you.
Yeah.
That's what autism like the groundwork has to be done.
Yeah.
The groundwork has to be done, because it was like, okay, I have to deal with this face to face. Even if, because now you see, once they told me no, the only other option was like, I may seek to develop my own curriculum. You know, like just do something like that. But how it felt, I felt very different. That's what I'm telling you, I really cried. I remember going to God and I'm like, okay, so are we not going to school? Like, is school not an option for this guy? And if it is, where are we going? But now, from those contacts I was called, one of the ladies, she's called Eva. I don't know if you know Eva Naputuni.
No.
She's an educational consultant.
Okay.
So I went to see her, and she really helped. She really helped. May God bless her. She really helped me. She recommended, she gave me a contact of a shadow teacher, like now the same. She gave me a contact of a school, and it was a very small school. Like I think it was maybe like 3 or 4 years, like a very small school. And yeah, my son went there. He was okay. He was okay. He started thriving very well. And along the way, I guess people just change. And the shadow teacher changed. Yeah.
So I want to, in fact, before you get to that point, I want to ask about, okay, so he's now going to the school. What are the costs that were associated
so when you're
for
doing
him?
now when you're doing shadow teaching,
Yeah.
it means you have to pay this teacher salary
Yeah.
every month.
So
Then
you're paying a teacher's salary.
yeah,
every
and then
month.
you pay
Okay.
your school fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the different kinds of therapy, because I know also, for example, for my nephew, I think he has a speech therapist, he has a behavioral therapist, he has the shadow teacher, and then I know he goes for evaluations every
The educational.
every I don't know how many months. Then he has a doctor, a specialist doctor, who he sees every couple of months as well,
Yeah.
just to sort of track his progress. So I want to understand from your perspective, what's that ecosystem?
So it was the same. So I needed to get a shadow teacher.
Yeah.
Then I needed to do. So for me, the therapies that we needed were the speech.
Okay.
Even I actually just stopped doing speech early this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did speech. Like we've always been doing speech. And speech is usually 2-5 per session.
Per session, and that is and he started at
Yeah. So
when
this
you got
is
the
4.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
So started at 3-4.
Yeah.
He's now 10. So you said you've been doing speech therapy for 6 years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did is for speech therapy I would only do it when he's in school, because I was like I didn't want his home time to be taken. Like I wanted him to just relax. So I tried as much as I can. Most of these interventions are actually done in school.
Okay.
We didn't need to do behavior because yes, he also has attention. At first he used to have attention deficit. It's really getting better now, but we never had hyperactivity.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
we never had hyperactivity. So for us, behavior wise, he was a very chilled guy actually.
Okay.
Still is very chilled. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for us, shadow teacher and speech therapy, and then now the doctor, of course.
Yeah.
And then now the school the school as it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I gather the specialists, I guess doctors in that, are not cheap either.
No.
For their for their, I think I was told, I think it was not 20 past.
No, so
Yeah.
so for if you're just going to see a doctor,
Yeah.
usually the fees between it's usually
Seven,
7K.
okay.
Yeah, 7K as a consultation fee.
Okay.
But still, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It
You
adds
see,
up.
I always say, you see, if for example, when you're paying this thing for, when you know I'm pregnant only for 9 months,
Yeah.
I know I can save this money
Then you
for
finish.
9 months and finish. But you see,
Yeah.
for autism, that's a life.
Yeah.
Like, you literally don't know when you're going to stop.
Yeah.
And you see, with the way life is, there are days you're up, there are days you're
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So sometimes even affording that 2.5 for speech therapy,
Yeah.
it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are those days now, that's when now you operate on goodwill, like you do like the whole time, you do sessions for the whole time,
Yeah.
then you pay.
Right. It's like a payment plan of some
Yes.
sort.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to I guess get into because where we're at now is you now sort of find a school, and he is so he has a shadow teacher, he has a speech therapist, and he's in school, and at that point in time, what's the socialization like? Are you seeing improvement on a
Yeah.
regular basis?
Yeah.
Does it
so
help?
I would say him being level 1, it was not so bad, and I thank God. Okay, my kids came Doremi. You know what that means?
Well, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
my kids came like
Yeah.
that. So I personally feel for the behavior, the siblings were the best therapists. Like the siblings, oh my God. Even for speech.
Yeah.
He started talking when his younger brother was talking.
Okay.
Yeah. The sharing, the laughing, the things that because most of the time you'll just find him in his little corner with his toys, doing his own things, humming and all that. But when the siblings came, he started opening up.
Okay.
Even up to date, when you ask him who is your best friend, he'll always mention the siblings. Yeah. Yeah.
A question on the daughter, your daughter who came last, because by the time your second born was born, you hadn't done the diagnosis. But when you got pregnant for the third time,
Yeah.
was that were you concerned? Were you potentially?
Yeah, I know. Many people ask me that question. But you
Yeah.
see, as I told you, we were Doremi. So
Yeah.
we found out we were pregnant, then you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like, you're like, oh my God, please. So it crosses your mind,
Yeah.
but the baby is growing in your womb. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I think I learned to just let it go. If I was to think of it before,
Yeah.
most likely I would not have conceived.
You think so?
Most
it would
likely.
have stopped you.
Yes. Because of that, it's scary.
Do you think it's a bad thing? And I'll tell you why. I'll be vulnerable and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because so my twin got a second son. And I remember talking to him about it, and he was like, yes, he was very concerned. And he was like, I hope he's not on the spectrum. And immediately he was born, he's gotten him evaluated, and they did the final evaluation, I think at like 2, and they said, no, he's not on the spectrum,
It's
he's fine.
unlikely.
And he said he felt like, a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Now, I don't have the kids that I have, or that I've talked about on the podcast, I haven't fathered. I'm married to someone who had children.
Okay.
So I've never fathered a child. But with my twin being my twin having a son who's on the spectrum, it's crossed my mind a couple of times, and I think there are days where I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I want to take that plunge.
And okay, to be sincere, the reason we are scared,
Yeah.
like if I'm to be asked, what exactly are you scared of? Because when I look at my son now, he's 10, he's fine.
Yeah.
Like he's very okay. Like
Yeah.
he walks in here, you'll not even realize.
Yeah.
But it's because there's a lot of groundwork that still has to be done.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be the experiment with their child.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You understand? And I think that's my biggest fear. Because I if I'm to recall the number of times I've been frustrated, simply because people just don't understand him. Right now he's 10. We are pre-adolescent.
Right.
And I'm starting to think of his career path.
Okay.
When I speak to people who are actually doing career paths, no one is
No one's thinking about the autistic child coming
exactly.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that means I have to do that.
Yeah.
For the sake of all the other children.
Yeah.
So it's that weight.
Yeah.
Actually, if there's one thing that keeps me up at night is that, like, because you also don't want him to be a dependable to the siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we talk of fear, it's not like it's just everything that comes.
Yeah.
It's everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
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 And you see, when you look at the whole system, of course, starting from the government,
Yes. Yeah. The structure is really not there.
it's not.
Yeah, I
no
saw
one
that
cares.
recently with the education budget. They were slashing
Yeah,
the
special
funds
needs.
for special
Exactly.
needs. Yeah.
Now, something like that just, I remember the day I saw that I cried. I remember even I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
And yet we have so many kids who are being diagnosed now with special needs.
Yeah.
Where should these parents take these kids if the schools are not going to be there?
Yeah.
Not everyone can afford a shadow teacher. You see, a teacher, you'll pay maybe 40 or 50 Gs
Yeah.
per month.
Yeah.
That is aside your school fees.
Yeah.
And transport.
Yeah.
Because transport is another.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people are going to afford that?
Yeah. Let me ask, financially speaking, how much has it, and again, I guess I'm asking this from, I don't want it to come off rude or insensitive, but I'm just asking, how much has having an autistic son affected your family's financial journey and financial process? Whether it's has it quote unquote taken away from your other children's possible educations or possible things? Has it potentially taken away from plans that you guys had for yourselves in terms of the things you wanted to invest in and the things you wanted to do? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And how much I don't think I'll be able to give a figure.
Yeah.
However, this is what I'll say. The minute we got our child diagnosed with autism, I know my second born suffered a lot. First of all, emotionally, because it took me a while before I got back. As a person, whenever I'm faced with a challenging situation, I love facing things head on. When I'm doing that, I can numb everything else around me. Now, when you're doing that and then you have a child, as an infant for that matter, it means you're denying this other child love, care, affection.
Right.
Like I was just there as a robot, but really my focus was
on the first one.
Yeah. And even to date, I really try to, like, I'm very intentional to make sure I show love equally. Like, it's...
You try.
It's something that I have to do.
Yeah.
I've done this to him.
Yeah.
I have to do this same thing. And you see, now that they are older, they actually ask. Yeah, why do you do this? So it's one of the things that we constantly have to keep on that. Okay, your brother has autism. What is autism? We have to talk about that. Every time they ask, I have to tell them. Because the other day, I remember the sister was asking, how old is Yaron? I told him 10. Now, the brother who is 7, he's just finishing his year 2, going to year 3. But it's like, but Yaron is learning the same things as me. You see such a comment. So when something like that comes and they are all there, that's a learning opportunity. We have to literally stop everything.
Yeah.
And start reminding them
why
yes. That's the emotional part.
Yeah.
Financially, the minute I remember we got the diagnosis, the priorities completely changed.
Yeah.
Because we believe there is no point of us accumulating things and leaving a child who cannot stand for themselves.
Yeah.
So we vowed to constantly invest on our children. As much, okay, you can try invest in other things, but really, it cannot come at an expense of investing in children.
Yeah.
So we spend more on education, we spend more on experiences, things that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives,
Yeah.
as opposed to things they will keep, the
Right.
things they are collecting.
Right.
Yeah. So even you find when we are, let's for example, something like as simple as buying toys, we make
Yeah.
sure we get the best toys we can, because then it will give them an experience. You understand? Yeah. So we are very careful when it comes to choosing what we are going to spend our money and time. Yeah, those two things. Very careful. And it's one of the reasons I personally chose not to be full-time employed, because anytime that's going to dictate the way I spend my time, I kind of feel I won't be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was that a decision that you and your partner then made? I mean, where you said, okay, so I'm going to work part-time and we'll make whatever money I'll make. But then when we make money, we're spending money on the kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whatever investments, whether it is bonds, whether it is houses, whether it is whatever the case is, those will come secondary.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. To
Does-
date,
to
yeah.
this day. Does
Yeah.
that then put pressure on your partner, do you feel, to make
I know that's a tricky question.
to make the money
It's-
that he'd need to?
Most likely, because trust me, education is not cheap. I
Yeah.
feel him.
Yeah.
I truly feel him, because trust me, education is not cheap. And then
Yeah.
we have 3 children,
Yeah, yeah,
not one. So every 3 months,
yeah,
you gotta figure out how you're going to raise this X amount
Yeah.
of money. So
Yeah.
yes, that's for sure. It's a lot of pressure, and but again, these kids are here.
yeah.
These kids are
And there's nowhere
They
they're
are
going
not
at
going
this point.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is a question I always ask myself. How will these kids be 10 years from now? I love asking myself that question. So yeah. So right now I'm complaining, so maybe I want to do other things differently. Will these things help me in the next 10 years? If the answer is no, I won't do them. Yeah. So whatever I'm doing has to be something that is impactful. And that's something that the kids, 10 years down the line, I'll be able to look back and was like, you know what? That was the right thing to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's even, like, that's what I'm telling you, even for my especially for my son-in-law who's pre-adolescent, I ask
Yeah.
myself, 10 years, because 10 years will be 20.
Yeah.
I won't be, we won't be doing all these hugs and kisses anymore,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. How do I want to see him as a 20-year-old son?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do I get there?
Yeah.
And, the other boy will be 17, the girl will be 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how will that be? How will that be?
Okay.
Yeah.
What's been the lowest financial point that you guys had, I guess, in relation to dealing with your son or trying to ensure that your son was fine? Yeah.
Well, lowest point. So
Have you ever been in a position where you cannot afford?
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been actually. I don't know if I can say it. Okay, I think I can.
Yeah.
So so immediately we got married.
Yeah.
We started off a business. Like, we were saving for our home.
Yeah.
We started off a business. We had we learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
But we started off our business and we invested a lot. And by a lot, I don't know what a lot is, because that's very
it's
relative.
subjective. Yeah.
But it's a lot in terms of tens of millions.
Tens of millions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it went down.
The business went under.
Everything went down,
Yeah.
including the assets.
Okay.
So that, I think, if I'm to say 2 points are the darkest points in my life.
Yeah.
The first one was when I lost the first child.
Yeah.
And now that instance.
Yeah.
Like, we lost a lot. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Actually, it was at that point in time I whenever I think of that, I usually give myself a tap on the back, like,
Yeah.
girl, you are a survivor. Like,
Yeah.
if you could come out of this,
What was the
nothing is
business in?
impossible.
If you don't mind me asking.
It was media. We were in media. Yeah.
And what went wrong?
I think the whole thing. What went wrong?
Was
A lot
it
of
a media
things.
entity we would have heard of?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It was actually. Actually, I would say it would have thrived had it not been the. How do I put that? I don't want to sound so, because now people will be like, where you are looking for sympathy. if we were being awarded for merit, it would have thrived. But there's a lot of envelope business in the
Right.
media,
Right.
of which I think as new entrants we were not prepared for that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of backings.
I want to find out what media entity this is.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that,
Yeah.
and unfortunately we did not budget for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me to come to you and give you business,
Yeah.
I need to make sure I get this.
Right. And how, at what journey in your life was this business collapsing? It was after the.
Yeah, it's like everything happened at the same time.
So it was as your son was getting his diagnosis.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So okay, but in that journey since his diagnosis, have you been in a position where, two questions there actually. What how did you guys recover? That's one, and then two, through now this process of having dealt and dealing with your son since he's been diagnosed, how have you guys been at a low point where you cannot afford whether it is the shadow teachers or whether it is medication or anything like that? Yeah.
Okay, so the first one was
How you guys recovered after the losses
okay, I don't think if we have recovered
to this day?
to this day,
Yeah.
because a lot of things came up. We still have a few debts. Like, I can say few because really it's compared to where we came from.
Yeah.
It's, we can consider.
So you've been
being
paying those debts
sig-
for
Yeah.
eight
So
years
like
now.
for myself, I think so. For myself, I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
For myself, I'll say so I had to go back to the bank and tell them, you know what, I can't handle this. So they froze that account so that it doesn't continue to accrue interest. And then one day I just received a call that I could actually pay 25%. But you know, they usually do 25%. I don't know if it was an offer or something. So they told me you can actually pay 25% as long as you're paying it in lump sum, and then the debt is cleared. So I paid. So
And-
that's, for me, that's how So you
Yeah.
can imagine, assuming maybe a loan of like 5 million, you're
Yeah.
told to pay maybe
25% of it, and then-
and so
and
that's
they'll
how,
clear
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so for me, that's how I came of it. And you see, you remember I stopped working as a full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember telling the bank, you know what, it's either you accept this or because I'm not gonna die because
Because of your money. Your money will be
yeah, I'm not gonna die. So I think for some reason I think there was an offer or something. So
Right.
when they called me,
You took it immediately.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about now? I guess within the journey of dealing with your son. And
Yeah. So
dealing
it's now you see life. Oh my God, life continues to happen. Life doesn't care, you know.
Yeah.
Life continues to happen. Like, you solve one thing, something else pops up. You solve one thing, something else pops up. But what I know is, through ages, what I can say is, conviction should be what is guiding you. Yeah, that conviction. It will not always be shiny. There are so many dark cloud days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't forget the final picture just
Yeah.
because it's cloudy.
Yeah.
So for me, that's one thing that has really, really kept me going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have 3 kids who are, game changers in their generations,
Yeah.
And because of that, just because I'm falling and, things are happening, doesn't mean now I have to also allow them to
Yeah.
experience what I'm experiencing
Yeah.
now. So I try my best. And of course, also my faith in God has really, really, if there's one thing that grounds me every single day,
Yeah.
it's that.
Okay.
Because I know for sure tomorrow is better.
Okay.
Every single day. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a belief in me. My parents, my siblings, I have very strong connection with my parents. Like, my dad, my mom still continue to, like, I know I'm 40 plus,
Yeah.
but I still go to my dad. I'm like, you didn't tell me this, and he's like, you know what? No, you're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
You're doing so much better than at your age where
Yeah.
I was. You're much better.
Yeah.
So hang in there. My siblings as well. We grew up. I'm the firstborn. I have two younger brothers, and we grew up like my problem is your problem and your problem is my problem. We grew up like that. So
Right.
we share quite a bit as much as we are all family people. So we always lift up. Like when things are really, really, really tough, I can just tell my bro, you know what? I need some cash.
Yeah.
And he'll always sort me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that
Yeah.
so I, even as I parent my kids, we try as much as we grow as a unit.
Yeah.
Like, no one should feel like they're more important than the other person. Oh, no one is less, because we are all important.
Yeah. Okay. Sort of as we wind up, I want to ask. I guess there's a lot of research that's done around, I guess, once couples have a child with what would be termed. I know you've said you don't look at autism as a special need, but what society would term as a special need. Sometimes it can break the relationship because it becomes more about the child than anything else. Is that something that you potentially experienced, or essentially what's your experience with that? How difficult is it to I guess to try and keep that relationship? And I've also seen that more men, than especially with autism, more men leave than
It's
than not.
true.
Yeah.
I can't say. Okay. Okay. I really didn't want to bring my husband in.
No, yes. Yeah. I guess it's a more general.
Okay, it's a general
yes,
thing.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
Out of 10 moms, I talk to a lot of moms because of what I do.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of moms. Out of 10 moms that I talk to, I would say 5 or 6,
Yeah.
their marriages have had to end.
Yeah.
And I know there's one who, like, the dad just said bluntly, like,
I can't.
I can't. Like, I know there's also another friend of mine. He just left. Like, he just said, okay, I'm going to work from Eldoret. And
He picked up and left. Wow.
And he never came back. And this is you see, this is actually a 24-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And that's the firstborn. Yeah. So it happens. It happens. And sometimes so those are the things you really ask God, like, because number one, you can't force anyone to love you. You cannot force anyone to love their child. Everybody loves who they want to love. But now you as a mom, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And you see, unfortunately, with the community, especially in our African settings, it's usually the man to provide.
Yeah.
And most ladies are home
homemakers.
and so if that's the case, then when the dad leaves, what happens to this girl and the child?
Yeah.
And then even the legal systems, who do you go and explain and talk to and tell them, okay, the dad has her part, and then what happens between now and then? So it happens, and now those are the things that are really complicated.
Yeah.
They're really complicated, very painful, very, very painful. But I always, like, for the people who come to me, are like, a day at a time, we look at your circumstance and see what needs to be done now, because that's what I've learned to survive. Like, whenever I feel like I'm in a mountain of issues, I just ask myself, what do I need to do now? Like, just now. I just don't care what else I need to do.
Yeah.
Right now, what am I supposed to do? What do I need now? What will make a difference now?
Yeah.
Then I do that.
Okay.
Then I go to bed. Then I wake up. I'm like, okay, it's a due day.
Take the next day as it comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like that. It happens. And then there are those ones who just don't leave. They don't tell you it's because of that special kid, but you kind of just feel they drift.
Yeah. Okay.
It happens, yeah.
I have two final questions. Second last question is, do you feel like you have had a relatively privileged life when it comes to dealing with your son who has autism, in terms of the ability to be able to deal with
Yeah.
him? Yeah.
I can say yes, and I really thank God for that. I have a very strong support system. As I told you, my dad.
Yeah.
I remember there were times things were really thick
Yeah.
in my personal life, and then my child. And I remember my dad calling me and just like, I have a house. If you feel like it's too much, just come with your kids.
Yeah.
I raised you, I
Yeah.
will raise your kids.
Yeah.
I remember my dad telling me that.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like parents are just parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my siblings as well. Then I have very good friends. Like, oh my God. I'm as much as I talk, but I'm an introvert.
Okay.
I'm an ambivert,
Yeah.
but more towards an introvert.
Yeah.
But I have very close knit friends. Like we call each other sisters.
Yeah.
Like if I pick a phone call right now and
Yeah.
tell them, Maze, I'm bad,
Yeah.
they'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also my work, I happen to be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
So I can say I have a lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
even before I knew I was going to deal with this. And then, of course, I also at least I have skills that are employable, so
Okay. Yeah.
I can earn my own money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thank God for a beautiful brain.
Yeah.
I can think
Yeah.
and, come up with solutions
Yeah.
that people can pay for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all that, to be sincere, I can say
you'd say
yes.
so.
And I really thank God for that. I don't take it for granted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final question. What's your happiest memory, or whether it was a milestone that your son hit, but your happiest memory around autism?
Yeah, when my son started talking.
Yeah.
So as I told you, one of the biggest fear of any parent of a child on the spectrum is if their child will ever talk. Yeah, because 3 out of 10 kids on the spectrum will never talk. So you have to find other ways of communicating. Yeah. So that was, after getting the diagnosis, and he was at that time,
Yeah.
he had a few words, but he was not really talking. Then one of the things I always do is affirm my kids. And I started from when they were very, very young.
Yeah.
So I'd always tell them, I love you, you're a great man. I love you, you're a great man. I love you, you're a great man. Then one day I told him, I love you, son. And he's like, I love you too, mom. Like, that was his first word. I love you too, mom. I remember, oh my God, I cried.
How old was he?
He was, I think he was 4. And I remember the brother was there. And the brother was like, but I've been telling you, I love you. And you see, the reaction is different. There's such kind of thing.
Right.
So you see, he feels like I don't value his I love you the more I love you.
Yeah.
You see. But I remember I really cried. And of course, because he was also still young, and I had to start explaining to him, like, no, because this is the first time your son your brother is actually saying the words, like a full sentence, and in a place where it's supposed to be. Otherwise, because he will just random words. Yeah. So it's such things. And so he said that. And then even the time he said feeding himself, going to the toilet was also one of the issues, like him going to the toilet and being able to wipe himself after a long call, especially him dressing up himself. Like right now, you just give him clothes, he dresses up. Bathing himself, like, okay, if you're a parent of a child on the spectrum, everything is a milestone.
Right.
Literally, everything is worth celebrating. Every single thing. Yeah.
Okay. What does, for your son, right? What does success look like for him financially in your eyes?
I think for me, if he's going to be able to develop his own skills, the things he enjoys, and then monetize. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that it's something I'm working with in very, I cannot even say infant state, like in literally in pregnant stage.
Right.
Is how best can we predict how do I put it, the interests of children on the spectrum, those who are
Okay.
speaking and those who are not. Yeah. Because as I told you, my son is 10, he's in class. I don't know what class. People ask me, which class is your son in? I'm like, I don't know.
He's in school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there are things is up here and then there are things is down there. Yeah. So how best can I channel the energy from focusing not to the things he's struggling with, but to the things he's good at?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when he's doing the things he loves, oh my God, you don't need to give instructions. He just flows.
Okay.
But then you see, we have these other things that are very important for him, for him to be as much rounded as possible. Though, of course, you don't expect him to be.
Yeah.
But, he should be able to, be able to tell us what he has drawn or, what exactly he's trying to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, success will be me attaining to get to that level.
Yeah.
And be able to see that actually people be able to admire that and be able to pay him for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For him being independent, because one of my biggest fear is that the siblings start to feel that their brother is their responsibility.
Yeah.
So
sorry, and a question on that. So as a result of that, have you created or set up like a nest egg of some sort of financial trust or whatever the case is for him, for his future?
Yeah, okay. It's as I told you, it's something we are doing in very small amount because it's a long journey.
Yeah.
Yes, and also I'm trying even everything. Actually, literally everything I do, it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. Okay, like I can dress and but really I have zero interest. I love good life.
Yeah.
And I know how do I put this? I love beautiful life. But for me, success is being able to leave a legacy. That's success for me.
Yeah.
And I pray that God will grant me years that I be able to see that actually. Everything that I have in paper right now, I'll be able to live long enough to see it come to life. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That concludes my questions. I think I've definitely learned, a thing or two more than and giving me a different perspective than I guess the perspective that I have, which is my brother's. But yeah, I've seen it, and I see it as something you sort of have to work through. And I just want to say thank you for coming on here as well. Like I said, this episode is 6 weeks late. It was supposed to have gone up in April, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you guys have learned a thing or two about autism, or for people who are parents who are raising children who have autism, or whether it's shadow teachers or any caregivers to people on the spectrum. Like I said, I've said it through the month of April. It's really difficult. Give those guys a hug or a coffee or whatever the case is. But thanks for coming. And please, we'll put her YouTube channel in the description box so you can have a look at it as well. If people with parents or people who may want to reach out for any contacts, where would they do that?
So on the YouTube channel there's an email.
Okay.
They can just hit me out.
Okay. So we'll put the email as well. And then we'll put it over here as well on the screen so that you guys can see it. And then that was us. So we'll see you guys in the next episode of Financially Incorrect.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome.
Yeah.